He could have been among the first members of parliament elected in Kenya after the return of multi-party democracy in 1992. He contested the Mathare parliamentary seat but lost unfairly, lodged a petition which was successful, and when the by-election was held in June 1994, he was declared member of parliament when he was already dead. What could have gone wrong for a man who defeated his opponents even in death? Dr. Fredrick Masinde was a candidate for then expansive Mathare constituency during the first general election in 1992 after the return of multi-party democracy in Kenya. He was a Ford Kenya candidate, but when results were announced, it was Ford Asili's Muraya Macharia who was declared a winner. Not satisfied with the outcome, Dr. Masinde successfully petitioned the election, and Muraya's win was nullified, setting the stage for a by-election on 27th June 1994. It was a high-stake by-election owing to several factors. KANU had a commanding number in parliament, 100 elected MPs plus 12 nominated, while joint official opposition parties that had split prior to the general election, Jaramogi's Ford Kenya and Matiba's Ford Asili, had 31 MPs each, followed by DP that had 23 lawmakers, while Kenya Social Congress, Kenya National Congress, and Party of Independent Candidates PIC had 1 member of parliament each. On the other hand, the ruling party KANU was under siege in Nairobi, the country's seat of power, as the opposition had swept all parliamentary seats. KANU had no say in Nairobi. Ford Kenya was the only party that had secured parliamentary seats in all the then 8 provinces, giving it a national outlook, thus making it a hot cake as the Mathare by-election was staged. Masinde was the man to watch.
It was very sensitive because, as you can understand, this was a seat contested by at least 3 of the then existing parties. Of course, the seat had originally been held by a Ford Asili candidate, but then the kind of competition that was going on at that time, you can understand that KANU did not want anything. I mean, KANU wanted at least to make sure that get hold of whatever seat it could get hold of. And considering that this was a seat in the capital city.
Leading the multi-party time were extremely delicate, was an extremely delicate moment. Dr. Masinde, when he went to contest in Mathare, that was a decision of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. And he came back and said that was a decision taken. And we said, okay, fine. We stand by you. And we went to Mathare and had a serious campaign in 1992. He won the election. But we were convinced that was a stolen election. That being the case, we went to court and the petition was allowed. It's when Dr. Masinde went back. We went back to the ground and laid our strategies to contest one more time.
However, Dr. Masinde encountered a major challenge. He faced financial constraints, having exhausted his finances during the hotly contested 1992 general election and the subsequent election petition, and now there was a by-election. His Ford Kenya party was not helping matters either.
A number of considerations come into play. You'll appreciate the fact that in order to win an election in this country, you need a lot of resources. Now, unfortunately, the opposition parties in general, but Ford Kenya in particular, was quite starved in terms of resources.
During the 1992 general election, he spent a lot of money. And during the during the petition, he spent a lot of money. And the election was nearing. And he saw that he was becoming broke. So he was asking the Ford Kenya universe to assist him in the financing of the by-election. And Ford Kenya was not doing it.
Amid his financial predicaments and cutthroat competition from Ford Asili, which sought to retain the seat and fend off any attempts by the Lion Party to capture the seat, emissaries are said to have been sent to entice Masinde to withdraw from the race, a matter that would have denied Ford Kenya an additional seat in Parliament.
Either to defect to the KANU team or get an appointment, the KANU team would give him an appointment. Specifically, he was offered a job as an ambassador somewhere in Scandinavian countries. Yes. And we said no. That was not fair. It looks like a betrayal to the cause of the dynamics of the politics of the day. Anything to do with the KANU, anything to do with the KANU regime, we thought was not fair, because the mood of the country at that time was to mobilize the opposition, also to get the numbers.
At some point, when political pressure intensified few days to the June 27th by-election, Dr. Masinde convened a news conference and announced his withdrawal from the race, leaving his Ford Kenya party in deep political shock.
After being paid maradufu, he was promised to be the ambassador in Vienna. So he was told to be he'll be made an ambassador to Vienna, and the whole thing was there. He called a press conference and withdrew.
Few hours later, he dramatically convened another media briefing and denounced his withdrawal.
And being as close as I was to my late brother, Dr. Masinde, I advised that it was not proper for him to defect. Defecting in the real community always looks like you are not a serious person and you're not committed to your cause. Among the emissaries that came, they had very many suggestions. Money was advanced. Ambassadorial positions were advanced. But the last option that was being emphasized was that Dr. Masinde should defect, join KANU, and still contest the seat from Mathare. We decided that that was not a good idea. Honorable Raila Odinga was very aware of what we were doing. And Honorable Raila Odinga was of the suggestion and opinion that yes, we needed to remain consistent in Ford. And indeed came to pass. We went to campaign.
So when he called a press conference and withdrew, that is when Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the Ford Kenya team now, called in the Young Turks. Young Turks were Raila Odinga, Young Turks was Dr. Mukhisa Kitui, Young Turks were James Orengo, and the like. They came to him and talked to him. You know, he had already pocketed the money. And then he called a press conference. The first thing he did was during the press conference was to say, they say only a fool does not change his mind. And definitely I'm not a fool, so I'm back in.
Captain Charles Masinde, who was kicked out of the military, the army, in April 1982 at the age of 27, was always with Dr. Masinde, together with his other brothers, Richard and Chris. His main role was to provide round-clock security surveillance on his brother. The only few hours they separated, tragedy struck. It was 2 days to the much-hyped by-election.
Dr. Masinde and I were always together. The only single day that I decided not to sleep in Dr. Masinde's house was a Saturday prior to the elections. On that day, Dr. Masinde was with Richard, his eldest brother, our eldest brother. So I slept out and I did not go to pick him in the morning. Dr. Masinde left the house earlier than we had planned. He walked to Adams Arcade and picked a taxi. He was with Richard. Me, I decided to go straight to Mathare, and I agreed that we shall meet in Mathare because I was organizing agents for the polling stations. So I expected that he would join me anytime. Since I had a mobile phone, I had a mobile phone those days. I was expecting that Dr. Masinde would join me in Mathare and would agree in which particular house he would find me in. While waiting for Dr. Masinde to join me, I got a message. And the message came to me not from anybody I knew. Somebody rang me from an embassy, from one of the European embassies, asking me if I knew that Dr. Masinde had been involved in an accident. I told whoever that rang me that I did not know. The person who told me that he was involved in an accident also indicated to me that that accident was serious, and that the scene of the accident did not appear to be normal. I tried to ask more questions, but the guy put down his phone. Indeed, at that time, I was a security manager for a company, and we had our own communication. I decided that the best thing to do was not to surrender at that stage. But of course, we had been warned.
It happened that when our time of reaching there to picking up from the house, to come and sign agents' forms, election agents' forms, that we found that Dr. had already left the house, and we rushed to Adams Arcade, where at times we used to walk with him to Adams Arcade and take taxi to town. We did not see the usual taxi, and we followed here hurriedly. We just now used Mathare. Crossing there, a group of some people surged there at the scene of the accident. That Dr. Masinde. When we rushed there, we were blocked from seeing him. We were kept afar, a distance, outside, before they put him on the machine.
The Ford Kenya candidate for Mathare constituency by-election was involved in a dreadful road accident along Ngong Road near the city mortuary. For Mathare constituency by-election was involved in a dreadful road accident along Ngong Road near the city mortuary. Masinde had left his house in Woodley Estate together with his elder brother Richard and boarded a taxi at Adams Arcade. He was heading to Mathare for a final preparations meeting ahead of Monday's by-election. That was his last movement before calamity struck. Their vehicle collided head-on with an oncoming car as another one rammed them from behind. The tragic incident became suspicious in all aspects.
It so happens that accidents are stage managed. So accidents, it depends on accident on who. So in this case, considering who the subject was, I think it was more than an accident. The only thing is that I don't think it is fair to try to go into the very details of what exactly some of us felt had happened.
Fredrick Masinde was killed. And the way he was killed, it was in the same procedure like that one of Bishop Muge. An accident occurs, you start bleeding, somebody comes out with a white handkerchief, wipes your nose, but the white handkerchief is laced with poison. So you breathe in the poison and you die. So the cause of Dr. Masinde was through breathing in a poisoned handkerchief. That is what killed him.
Pain, panic, and confusion gripped Masinde's family and his Ford Kenya party. He was rushed to Kenyatta National Referral Hospital in a bid to save his life. He was in critical condition.
Coordinating the affairs of the campaign, despite being on the life support machine there.
What we agreed as a family was that now Dr. Masinde would be taken care of in the hospital by my brother Chris Masinde, because now two brothers were in hospital, Richard Masinde and Dr. Masinde. So Chris Masinde would then take care of the sick in the hospital, and I would push on with the campaign in Mathare.
News of his suspicious grisly accident shook Mathare residents to the boot. Political shockwaves that were felt across the country. The following day, Monday 27th, voting exercise took place.
And the elections indeed were held on Monday. And he died on a Tuesday. He was on life support machine. Dr. Masinde never had a mark on the forehead. But after he died, there was a mark on his forehead. That was a mistake. Dr. Masinde was assassinated. He didn't die.
Nonetheless, the by-election went on uninterrupted as his family and his party hoped against hope that he would pull through both at the hospital and at the ballot. It was a tense moment. Vote counting went on as Masinde battled in critical care unit for his life. Eventually, he was declared a winner with a commanding margin, a victory he never lived to celebrate. He was declared Member of Parliament posthumously.
I knew my brother Dr. Masinde had died before during the tallying. I knew that.
In Parliament on questions by private notice, a Lego Usonga Member of Parliament, Otieno Makonyango, who was Ford Kenya's Information and Publicity Secretary, demanded an explanation from government, circumstances surrounding the suspicious accident Dr. Masinde had been involved in, and why there was an attempted cover-up.
The circumstances surrounding that death were suspect in more than one way. And because they were suspect, it was important that we get to know what exactly might have happened.
We have, the whole thing was being covered, but still there are evidence there. What happened was that the vehicle that carried him from the scene around City Mortuary up to accident and emergency place, the vehicle had, if you can remember very well those days, we never had different number plates for motorbikes and whatever, and tractors and whatever. All vehicles were registered similarly. So what they did is that they exchanged the number plates and placed there a number plate of a vehicle of a tractor in Kitale. So these good Samaritans who are following the second vehicle, there used to be this vehicle used to call Wepesi. So flying squad used to like Wepesi. The first one hit his vehicle from behind. Then the second one came with an handkerchief pretending to. What they did is that they went and dropped him at emergency, but an observant person noticed that he was being dropped at the gate of the accident and emergency, and he noted the number. but the number, which is there still in the police file, it was the number plate for a tractor in Kitale. I used to work for the special branch, and those are our fingerprints. We have so many examples where we used to collect number plates of Nini. We used to collect the number plates of tractors, and then you go to. So when this issue came for the investigation, policemen, now regular police, they didn't know what we were doing. Regular police did not know what we were doing. So the traffic police in Kilimani, innocently, the mix-up was deliberate. The mix-up was deliberate. Before his murder was planned, it was already planned that the number plate should be there. The two vehicles had false number plates. So the first one hit him. Then the second one, which was composed of Good Samaritan, came with a false number plate so that in case anybody memorizes the number plate, then it hits a dead end by saying maybe the witness, when you go to a police station and maybe instead of 326, you say 362, already you are lost. So that was to kill the stories, to give it a dead end.
The scene of accident had been washed. A white Land Rover had gone there, and the scene of accident, the water bowser had also been taken the scene of the accident to wash the scene. I knew for sure that things were not right. But I still, up to now, thank the people of Mathare who, when the word broke to them that the Kanu regime had done what it did, they turned out in swamps to vote for my late brother.
Dr. Masinde's family insists their kin had been living on borrowed time all along, and the writing had been on the wall long enough.
In those days, there was what we would call today hostile surveillance. That people doing surveillance on you did not hide. Every day we woke up, there were different people at the gate. Some would even come to the house. The person would walk in the compound, pick a chair and sit there. You don't know the person. And the Kanu team coerced to Dr. Masinde to the extent that he was arrested, tortured one night, and released. He came home and he was in great fear.
Apparently, he had been kidnapped the previous night, harassed and intimidated, a situation that had seen him announce his withdrawal from the by-election before denouncing the same. And just like that, life ended for a man who had initially represented Bungoma South in Parliament from 1969 before he was dethroned by Lawrence Sifuna. In his Season 2 attempt under multi-party democracy, he was declared Member of Parliament posthumously. These are the historic Masinde grounds in Mathare constituency, grounds that were named in honor of a man who was elected Member of Parliament when he was already dead. Until today, details surrounding that suspicious accident on Ngong Road remain unclear. Duncan Hemba, KTN News, Mathare.